Welcome, parents and students from the class of 2022. I am Mrs. Prang, the post-secondary counselor for Central High. This college planning presentation topic is regarding the research process. So I consider 11th grade as the year of research. It's really a time for you to do some self-reflection and figure out what exactly is the best option for you once you finish at Parkway Central High. Take this time to do some surveys, explore all of your options, whether that is taking a gap year, joining the military, doing vocational training, or transitioning directly to post-secondary education at either a 2-year college or a 4-year college or university. One of those elements of research includes just diving into that information. Colleges are specifically offering many virtual opportunities during this season of time when campuses are not necessarily available for visitors. So looking at those virtual visit and information sessions that are either live or pre-recorded until you can actually hopefully make a visit to campus either later this spring or summer, or even into the fall of next school year, when hopefully those options will be returning. The admission representatives that are recruiting specifically in Missouri or the St. Louis region will be scheduling virtual visits to Parkway Central this spring. Those visits have just started to be scheduled, so you will want to make sure that you are checking Naviance, which we'll talk about in a moment, for those virtual visits, and try to hop onto those sessions. The district has decided to focus on only allowing those admission representatives to virtually meet with students on Mondays when all students in the district are virtual. So we have established time during non-class portions of the day. So in the morning, during lunch, and right after school, there will be options to meet with admission representatives from colleges and universities. So that's a great way to connect with our specific admission representatives, get a snapshot of the university, their scholarship opportunities, their admission policies, and get answers to any questions that you might have. As you're thinking about those schools, you really want to hone in on, is this a good fit for you? So really learn about those schools. What are their admission requirements? What do the acceptance rates look like for that university? Is it highly competitive for admissions? Are there what is called guaranteed admission criteria, where if you meet that benchmark, you're admitted? And then whether you know specifically what you might want to pursue as a career path, some students will take that and into consideration when exploring colleges. Do they know their particular major they want to pursue? Is that college or university strong in that particular field? And if you're not certain, that's okay. Maybe you're considering 3 or 4 things. And you can check to see, are the programs, all of the programs that you're considering, available on that campus? Certainly taking a deeper dive into the success rate of students on that campus. Are they getting jobs, getting into graduate schools? Like, all of those things could be very valuable in your research as well. The culture and climate of the community, what does the town look like? How large is the campus and student body? All of those things are great things to consider as you are doing your research and finding schools that might be good for you. One of the research tools that we use is Naviance. So you may or may not, as a junior, have had significant experience with Naviance, but now is the time, if you haven't been using it, to really spend some time exploring Naviance, making sure you know how to log in, Parents, there are parent logins. So if you do not have an account set up yet, just reach out to me and I can activate that account for you as well. But we use this tool to research colleges in junior year. You can actually see historical acceptance data, which can be very valuable. So students from Parkway Central who have applied to that particular college, were they admitted or denied, and what was their academic profile? So it only shows you 2 data points, GPA and ACT scores, but it does give you an idea of maybe how competitive that particular school is. There is a section for counselor notes. So as I meet with admission representatives and attend information sessions, I keep notes within Naviance that are public for parents and students to read. So sometimes you can gain a lot of information quickly with that you could also find probably on their website, but might take a lot more clicks. And then there is a tool on there which I really like for that research season called Overlaps. And if you have one particular school that you know you're considering or that might be a good fit for you, the Overlaps shows you students from Central High who applied to that school. Where else did they apply? And it gives the top 10 overlaps. So sometimes that helps you just brainstorming, where else should you be considering? If you look at those overlaps, you might get some ideas about other schools that you want to explore. As you're using Naviance, what we want you to do is save all of the schools that you're considering, that you're thinking about, that you want to learn more about, into the colleges that I'm thinking about section. What that does is allows you to see all of that data. It allows you to do some comparisons of yourself. And then it also alerts the system that you want to know more about that school. So when that admissions representative schedules at Parkway Central, it will then automatically email you to say that they've scheduled a visit. And it alerts you because it knows it's a school that you're considering. So it's really important that you kind of start adding schools into that section so that you can get that information. Then next year, we actually use Naviance in the application process. And that's where you will go to request transcripts, to invite teachers, to write letters of recommendation. So it is very important that Naviance is something you start using and become more familiar with this year. How to get to Naviance, this is just a screenshot. You will go to the Parkway Central website and click on counseling. And then over on the left of the counseling section, there's a link directly to Naviance. When you click that, it will take you to a screen that looks like this. And then as a student, of course, you will click on the student icon. And then what we suggest is that rather than trying to put in an email and password, that you continue with Clever. When you click on continue with Clever, that allows you to simply use your Parkway Google login to access Naviance, and you don't have to remember a separate email or password for this tool. So as soon as you click on continue with Clever, the second step in the process is for you to search for your high school. So as you can see in this example, I just started typing Parkway Central High, and it popped up with Central High School in the Parkway School District. So you will click on that. And then step 3 is it will take you to the Google login and allow you to just simply use your Parkway Google account to access Naviance. When you get into Naviance, as you can see over on the side, you will click on colleges, research colleges, and the college visits section is in there. So that is where you are going to see a list of those admission representatives coming to Parkway Central. At this point, the registration for the spring just opened early last week. So we only have 3 colleges so far, but I put a screenshot in of what the visits look like in the fall, where we have sometimes multiple visits a day, and many per week. There are often less rep visits during the spring. However, I'm not sure what it will look like this year since everything is virtual. It makes it easier for the admission representatives to travel again to the Midwest, when they typically would maybe do that only once a year. So it is possible that we will have a larger number this spring than historically. As we look at, this idea of finding the right, what I will often say is fit in a college, I'm really breaking that down into 3 specific categories: that the school is a good fit for you academically, socially, and financially. The academic piece is certainly very valuable. You have to find the right learning environment. And again, as I spoke about in the first part of the presentation, that takes some self-reflection. That takes you really diving into, what type of learning environment is the best for you. Do you typically have learning supports at Central High, and you're going to have to explore whether those are available or not, or what they look like on individual college campuses? Are you used to being in a really challenging and rigorous learning environment, and that's what you need as you transition to college, or will that be very overwhelming for you? So finding that right balance. And certainly the class sizes are very different throughout the country at different colleges. So, imagining yourself taking a class in our theater and having that larger lecture environment, or do you need to make sure that the class sizes are similar to what you've experienced at Parkway Central? So really take some time to think about what is going to be the best fit for you academically, and have conversations with your parents, with your teachers, about what they think is best for you as well. For socially, certainly the academics is very valuable, but we also want you to feel comfortable on campus and be happy and engaged when you transition to this new community. So, it's hard to figure that out, especially if you're not able to visit the campus and see the culture and community, and figure out, are your people there? That's what a visit is very valuable for, and that is more tricky right now. But what I have suggested is that you consider following the different campuses that you're thinking about, those colleges, on social media. Sometimes that gives you a more authentic view of what that community looks like, what students are engaged in and participating with those student organizations, and what the climate feels like. So that's another way to get maybe a different perspective than you could find in a recorded virtual session, or doing exploration on their website. And then finally, the third step is figuring out, what is going to be the best financial fit for you. What is a good decision for you as you transition to thinking about college? Have those conversations as a family. Is there a budget? Will you be paying for college on your own? How much in debt might you want to incur for your undergraduate degree? And in thinking about that, I think it's also important to consider your long-term goals. Is finishing your bachelor's degree, that 4-year undergraduate degree, your end goal? Or do you already have aspirations of attending school longer to get a master's degree or to go to professional school? When you are considering all of those things in the budget conversation, sometimes that adjusts how much you would want to spend on that first degree. So the goal is ultimately to try to have your list finalized or narrowed down by the end of the summer. The suggestion is to have a list of around 6 to 8 schools. Certainly that's not a hard guideline or requirement. Some students apply to 1 or 2 schools and they're finished. And then some students do apply to closer to 20 schools. Ultimately, that's a family decision, but as we kind of get through the process and especially in the presentation about the application process, which is important to look at. It can be very overwhelming to have a really long application list. So, making sure that as you are applying that you are being very intentional. And in that intention, it's also important to include a range of schools. So as you can see, we would want to have maybe a couple of schools that we are very confident about, that you are submitting that application and you either know or are very confident that you will be admitted, and then it's an affordable school for you. Reasonable is more of this should all work out. And then the reach schools are the ones you're really crossing your fingers about. And if you have a couple of schools within each of those categories, and you are happy to attend any of the schools on that list, then you have a solid list. If you are applying only to schools that you're crossing your fingers about, or only to schools that you are considering slam dunks, you might not be giving yourself the best opportunity. So when I list reach, again, that reach could fall into 3 different categories. That reach could be academically. Maybe as you are researching the admission standards of that university, you're falling below their averages or not quite getting to the level of their minimum requirements. So it's considered an academic reach for you. It could be a financial reach that you've assessed some of the costs of the school and what you might be eligible for financial aid. And it might be a little bit unrealistic for you to be able to pull that off financially. So you're applying and then checking to see if it's realistic after you get your financial aid package. And then the last category is that it could simply be a statistical reach. You know that you're competitive for admissions. You know that you're competitive, you know that you can afford that particular school. But simply the acceptance rates make it a reach for everyone in the country. So we're going to look at that a little bit closer right now. So here are the acceptance rates from some of the most competitive schools in the country. This is certainly not the list of schools that everyone at Central High is applying to, but every year we have students who are seeking to apply to these highly selective universities. So as you go into that process, if this is something that you're considering, I share this information not as a point of defeat, but as simply for you to go into the process with a proper perspective, that as you apply to this school, knowing that maybe less than 10% of the applicants are typically admitted to that university, the odds are against you. Right? If you were gambling something and putting a bet that this is going to happen, and the odds were 6.2%, you have to go in with that awareness that it might not happen, even if you're completely competitive and admissible. Turning that into kind of some different visuals is, changing the language. On that previous screen, 85 to 95% of students received denials after they applied. And you have to go into the process assuming that most of those applicants are competitive for admission. Certainly there are students who are simply throwing darts. I've heard of students saying that they are going to apply to a particular school knowing that they're going to be denied just so they can have a denial letter that they can have forever. That's not the norm. The majority of students are going to be researching, understanding the profile of students who are admitted and submitting applications. So as you can see on this particular chart, they're receiving 20, 30, 40,000 applications and are only accepting maybe 1, 2, 3,000 students. So the volume of qualified applicants that these schools are receiving is simply what's working against you. So what you have to know is that none of these schools who have, admission acceptance rates of less than 15%, none of those can be considered safety or slam dunks for anyone, regardless of your academic profile. So we can't predict in these circumstances admissions. But you can, as an applicant, determine if you're competitive. That's where you look at the profiles of admitted students and see if you are in that comparable range. So those schools are doing what's called a holistic review, as are many schools in the country. A holistic review, as you hear through the process, really means that there's no magic formula. There's no this plus this equals I'm going to be accepted to this university. Holistic means that they're going to look at the entire picture and determine if you're a good fit for their university. But what they do advertise and publish is their average academic profile from their previous admitted class. So you can check their site and say, what is their freshman profile? And it will typically give you an average GPA, an average test score for their particular class. Some of them will even break it down to where were the students from, what states, what demographic profile did those students have? And that can give you an idea of another layer of whether you are competitive for admissions. So what that also means is that they aren't just using 2 data points, ACT, GPA. They are really looking at your transcript to figure out how rigorous was your curriculum. So the most competitive schools are going to want to see that you took the most rigorous path available to you at Parkway Central. The schools will also look at your resume. That is all of your activities. Do you have any special talents that you're bringing to campus? A few of them look at things like demonstrated interest. Have you met with the admissions representative? Did you attend any info sessions, either virtually or on campus? And then that perspective that they could also gain from recommendation letters that they might require. So some of those pieces are going to be discussed in the presentation called Supporting Documents. So I encourage you to listen to that video as well. All of those things are pretty subjective, right? A GPA and a test score are data, and there's not much wiggle room with that. But these items, your resume, what you're involved with, how they interpret your essay, your recommendation letters are subjective. And again, cannot be predicted about, yes, I'm going to get in with this. The schools who have transitioned to more of a test optional approach are also likely doing that holistic review because they don't have that data point. And the testing video that I have prepared discusses that more as well. So here's just some examples as I kind of searched and took snapshots of the college websites of what's your freshman profile. So for Tulane, you're going to see the average ACT was between a 31 to a 33. You can also see that they received, nearly 44,000 applications. For Indiana, doing a holistic review, their average ACT was between a 25 and a 32. Their average GPA was between a 3.6 and a 4.0. So again, you can assess your academic profile or what you hope that it's going to be by the time you are applying. So many of you have not tested yet. You still have many quarters of grades to still calculate in. But as you start doing this research, you can figure out if you're achieving these goals and in the range that you would like to be. The other set of schools do what's called a guaranteed admission. It's very calculated. So they will publish on their website minimum requirements for admission. And if you meet those requirements, you are automatically admitted to the university. So this is something that you can know ahead of time. Before you even apply, you will know, I meet the admission requirements, I will be admitted. So no guessing, it's very straightforward. And these are just some examples of charts that you can find on school websites that will say admission requirements. And usually it's a combination of an ACT and a GPA. Again, as you listen to the testing video, when I talk about test optional pathways, that does look a bit different, but this is going to be assuming testing is an option. So you can look at a school like a Missouri State, and they say if you have below a 2.5, it doesn't matter what your test scores are, you are not admissible. But if you hit that 2.5 mark or higher, you could be admissible. So the higher your GPA, the lower your ACT could be. And that's typically the case at many schools. You see in the bottom corner of the screen that Southeast Missouri, you have a 3.5 GPA, you don't even need an ACT score. So these charts could be on the websites of schools that have that more calculated admissions process. The other thing to consider is that many students choose to start at the community college. Community college is guaranteed admission for every single high school graduate. So you don't have to have a particular GPA, you don't have to have a particular ACT score. It's automatic admission if you graduate from Central High. In addition to that, the state of Missouri offers a scholarship program called A+, and that allows you to earn a scholarship for your community college. So you can get your associate's degree, that 2-year degree, for free. You can get all of your core general education requirements done for free in 2 years, and then transfer to a university to finish your bachelor's degree. And when I say free, it is in quotes. It does cover the tuition at a specific rate. So it might be if you attend a community college that is above that rate, there could be some charges for that. Your books, additional fees that might be involved. But in general, your tuition is covered. So it's loosely said as free, as the fees are very nominal. Many students also join the A+ program to simply use it as an insurance policy. Maybe the plan is not to attend a community college or, spend time doing that first and then transferring. But you can take 2 classes for free this summer after high school before you go away to college and get 6 credit hours for free. So some seniors will choose to do that. And then simply having it in your back pocket. None of us could have predicted this type of pandemic. And many students from the class of 2020 had no intention of starting at the community college or using their A+ scholarship, but they got their schedule at their university and they figured out they were going to be completely virtual. They weren't going to have that freshman experience that they were hoping for. And so those students who had done the A+ program were able to contact me and say, you know what, this isn't what I am hoping for freshman year. I'm going to be living at home anyway, so I'm going to attend the community college and take all of my general education classes for free rather than paying the tuition. So because they had done the A+ program as an insurance policy, they were able to use it. So the way to join the A+ program, the district sends out notifications about the process, but you would just go to the Parkway Central website and click on the counseling and then A+, and there's an interest form on there. Once you fill out the interest form, which just is listing your first, last name, and school, the district will email you links to enroll in the program. And the website also goes through the eligibility details, but it's basically that you have to graduate high school with a 2.5 cumulative GPA, that you have to have 95% attendance throughout high school, which shakes out to be not missing more than about 30 to 35 days of high school. There are appeals and there's waivers right now for illnesses and things like that. And then you have to complete 50 hours of tutoring or mentoring within Parkway, and we're allowed to use up to 25 hours of nonprofit community service organization work. So most of the things that are eligibility requirements, students are already going to have. So again, it's just a nice option for students to have in their back pocket just in case, or to plan for. If you are feeling overwhelmed, after this presentation, these are just kind of some takeaway points. So your goals are really to start researching colleges, diving into their websites, doing virtual tours, information sessions, hopefully at some point being able to visit campuses, and then connecting with those reps when they visit PCH. Have college conversations, budget conversations as a family, and figure out what's realistic. Is everyone on the same page as far as college and funding of college? Certainly you can schedule an appointment with me to discuss your specific needs. We do have a counseling Twitter feed that as the year progresses, we will share information on there. So following us on Twitter can keep you kind of in the loop about things. And then the resources that we have on our website and in Naviance, another presentation is specifically demoing both of those items. So I encourage you to check that out as well. And then we do partner with a program called Mentors for College. I've been sending out information sessions, webinars, workshops that they offer. But if you haven't checked that out yet, I encourage you to do so. It is a free program, and their website will partner you with a mentor and kind of help you walk through this journey and keep you on track as well. So since there's only one of me and several hundred of you, sometimes it is nice to have that one-on-one constant contact as well. Thank you for watching. I encourage you to check out the other videos as well as you navigate through this next 6 months. See you later.